I can trace back my work ethic to, we had a little efficiency apartment in Hawaii, and we were evicted out of there, couldn't pay the rent. The rent was $280 a month. We eventually got kicked out. When we got kicked out, I was 15 years old. I'll never forget it. I was standing there at the door. There was the notice. In that moment, I saw my mom crying, and that kind of pain really impacted me. And I thought then, I want to do everything that I can to make sure we never get evicted like this again, and make sure that she is never this upset again. I didn't even know what that meant at 15 years old. It just meant I have to work. I have to work. I have to do something with my own two hands. This is the stuff that you can control. We control the controllables, as we say. The other part is a competitive nature that is in my DNA and it's in my blood, where I love the competition. I love to win, and I also love to learn. I don't say lose, I say I love to learn. So I would say it's a combination of that. For me, the work ethic comes from, I never want to be evicted again. The other side to that is a competitive nature, and that competitive nature, that never goes away.
The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times. I would remember that, and it allows me then to be present in the moment and understand, holy shit, the stuff I have around me right now, this is the shit that I dreamed of when I was a kid.
For me, the drive just comes from wanting to do more. I've gotten really lucky and fortunate over the years to have accomplished what I've been able to accomplish, but again, the hunger doesn't go away. I like to say I got a full plate, but I could always make room for the stuff I love. When I wake up in the morning, I have got to be running towards the thing that I want to do, and not walking towards it, not, I really don't feel like doing this, or why did I got to be running to it. And I realized that if I'm able to do that, get up in the morning and run to it, then I'm in that place of joy and happiness.
It's the grind that we love and sink our teeth into and just fucking go and get after it, because I've worked hard to get here.
Whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to get after it. You got to get after it. There's no substitute for hard work. Hard work always pays.
Because a lot of times you go down the road and, you know, there's the phrase, you have to walk by faith and not by sight. A lot of times you walk by faith, not sight nor experience, and you just don't know. When I first started my wrestling career, I got there in the WWE, and I have a meeting with Vince McMahon, and Vince says, okay, he said, what's important to you? And I said, well, what's important to me is learning the business. Even though I grew up in professional wrestling, still so much to learn, and I want to be good. I want to be really good at what I do and put in the time and put in the work. In a way, and I mean this respectfully, I said, I'd like to do it on my own. I don't want to be handed anything or given anything just because my grandfather wrestled for Vince McMahon's dad in the 70s. My dad wrestled for Vince McMahon in the 80s. And I said, I mean that respectfully, I just feel like I want to do it on my own. But we all go through our own journey and process. So there's something I think that we all can tap into that becomes our juice and our wiring. For me, you bring up my old man. My dad was a professional wrestler at a time when professional wrestling, I think, wasn't as globally renowned as it is today. My dad was paycheck to paycheck kind of guy, and when I decided to get into professional wrestling, we had the biggest fight about it. And ultimately he said, look, I'm not too sure if you have anything to offer. I mean, it got to that level. Along the road of life, we always have these moments that are seminal moments where somebody, sometimes it's a loved one like my old man, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a boss, sometimes it's a stranger who says, you can't do it, you're not good enough, don't even try, pack your stuff and go home.
My back is up against this motherfucker. Every day, it's against this fucking wall. But it's up against this motherfucker because it's what I believe in. And when my back is against this motherfucker, then there's nowhere to go but that way. That's it. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done.
Get your ass kicked, you get back up, and you put the gloves back on and you swing away.
When I got to Hollywood, I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling, WWE, and I was really determined, hopefully, to have a career that had longevity, and I was willing to put in the work and commit. But what I realized at that time was there was a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of cynicism as I was getting into Hollywood, and I get it. It was a little tricky because I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling. When I got there, a lot of people around me at that time who were part of my management team said, listen, if you really want to make it in Hollywood, and even those who weren't part of my team, now looking back, I could see the chess that they were trying to play back then. They said, if you really want to make it in Hollywood, then you can't call yourself The Rock, you gotta lose weight, don't talk about wrestling, you have to look and walk and talk and act like these guys, and these guys are the biggest stars in the world at that time. Johnny Depp, Will Smith, etc. If you don't know any better, you buy into that stuff, like I bought into that back then. But then you start to realize something starts to eat at your gut about, well, this just doesn't feel right because I'm not being authentic, I'm not being myself. So finally, I said, a few years later, I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to be myself. I said, I'd like to have the same career as these guys, only bigger and different, and I mean it respectfully. And they all looked at me like I had three heads. I'm not these guys. I'm not a Johnny Depp, I'm not a Will Smith, I'm not a George Clooney, those guys who were big stars at that time. I'm me.
And the most important thing I could be is authentic. And if I miss something, I fail, then I fail being myself. So I gotta be me.